Hello everyone, I'm Woman International Master Knarik and I'm using the chesswithknarik.com website to record this video. In this video we're going to see another pawn race where both sides are trying to promote, and usually we said that the side that's promoting first most of the time has some advantage, because even if, let's say, we promote first and our opponent promotes next, we're going to have one extra move to try to do some tricks, maybe try to checkmate with that one extra move, or try to get our opponent's queen with maybe a skewer or some tactic. Now let's see in this position. We have in this position 3 pawns. 2 of them are passed pawns on the queen side and 1 of them is a pawn on the king side, while black has 3 pawns on the king side. Now if we can see that it's not our pawn is not really stopping black from promotion, because if black wants to promote, they can simply push the f pawn and promote with that pawn. Even if we capture that pawn, it's not going to stop black from creating another passed pawn and promoting. Now let's look at this position. Some important things to notice and remember in this position are the square of the passed pawns. For example, I can just decide to push the c pawn or the a pawn, but I need to keep in mind the square of the passed pawns. For example, if I just keep on pushing the c pawn, what's going to happen? If we draw the square of a passed pawn, and we talked about the square of a passed pawn many times in our videos, we can see that the black king will be able to capture our pawn and be in the square of our white passed pawn. And if we just keep on pushing that pawn, black is just going to make it to capture that pawn and will have an advantage, because with that king they can't stop our a pawn as well, but they will have 3 passed pawns on the other side of the board, 3 connected passed pawns that we won't be able to stop. So going back, so definitely I'm not just pushing my c pawn without doing anything else here, because that is just even losing for white. But on the other hand, I can also notice that the c pawn has some advantage, and the advantage of the c pawn is that whenever it promotes, it will be with a check. It will be on the same diagonal. It will be on the c8 h3 diagonal, same diagonal as the black king is standing on, which means that if I make it to promote, at one point that's going to be with a check, and I will gain a tempo. I will gain a move that might help me win this game. Now let's see. Now how about if I just push the h pawn instead of pushing the if I just push the a pawn instead of just pushing the c pawn? So let's look at that. If I just push the a pawn, it's true the black king is too far from the square of our passed pawn, and the king won't be able to stop our pawn from promoting. But the black doesn't have to do that. Instead of trying to capture our a pawn with the king, black can also try to promote their own pawn, and it doesn't really matter whether we do this trade or not. The move that we promote right on the next turn, black is going to be promoting. Let's say here we did promote and black is promoting next, and we can't win this game. This is going to be a draw. We don't have, okay, it's true, it's our turn, it's white's turn, but I cannot find any tactic that might win the black queen. My king is too far and cannot help with any checkmate, so we won't be able to win this. Going back, so what can we try to do? So what if I combine both ideas? Let's say, what if I push the pawn to c4? So to stop this pawn, black definitely must capture our pawn that's on g4 to be able to get in the square of the passed pawn. We will see later what's going to happen if instead of capturing our pawn, black also tries to promote their own pawn. Now let's look at this capture here. Now it's true, I don't want to keep promoting this pawn, because the black king, we said, that is going to make it to capture. Now what if instead of continuing to promote the c pawn, now I move to the a pawn and I push the a pawn? Now what's the advantage of pushing the a pawn? Pushing the a pawn and promoting it is going to help in controlling the a8 h1 diagonal, which means that if here black is pushing the h pawn, it's not going to be good for black, because when we promote first, on the same move, we will be able to stop black from promoting. And there we go, with our queen, we're controlling this here we are. We're controlling the a8 h1 diagonal, and black won't be able to promote, and white is definitely winning this game. So going back, okay, when we push the a pawn, black is not pushing the h pawn, but must definitely push a pawn, because going and wasting time with the king to try to capture the a pawn is useless, because black is not even close to being in the square of our passed pawn. So instead of pushing the h pawn, black is definitely pushing the f pawn. Now I can take advantage of this, because by pushing the f pawn, it's like black is blocking their king's movement. And now I can push my c pawn again, because the square of the passed pawn is now here, and black won't be able to continue with the king and stay in the square of the passed pawn. Instead, black must push the pawn, not waste time with any other moves, and we push. Black is gonna push, we push, and we did take advantage of the fact that we are promoting on the c file with a check. And here black is moving away. Now we already have a queen, black hasn't promoted yet. We can use this to our advantage. Okay, I can show you an example of a line that we can be playing. We can check. Black is trying to support their pawn to promote, and we can just wait for that pawn to promote, and when the pawn promotes, we can just capture it, trade queens, and we will be faster than black to promote our second pawn. Now, of course, black can also try to promote their second pawn, and of course, that second pawn is not gonna be the h pawn, because as we said earlier, when we promote, we are controlling the a8 h1 diagonal. So if black is gonna try to promote the second pawn, it's gonna be the g pawn. So let's see what's going to happen here. We are promoting a move ahead again. So there we go, we're promoting, while here black played, and they will need one more move to promote, and that's enough for us to win. We already have a queen. Here I can show you just one line how we can win. Of course, black king is not moving away from the pawn and allowing us to capture their pawn, while black is going to move to the g1 square. And how to win this, I can show you one example. Let's say we can be waiting with our queen for the black king to move away, capture that pawn with a check, and this is an endgame that is definitely winning for white. What's the strategy to win this? When there is a pawn on the 7th rank and that pawn wants to promote, our king and queen must work together, and we can see this in different videos as well, but we can see a fast explanation of it here. It is that our king and queen must work together. It means that our king should get closer to try to attack the black pawn with the queen. And what does that mean? That we cannot do this, we cannot get closer with our king anytime we want, because if we do that, black is going to be able to promote as well. So when do we get our king closer? The idea is we keep on attacking black until their king goes behind their passed pawn. When the passed pawn can't move anymore to promote, that's when we get our king closer. But of course, black is going to show some resistance. They're not just going to put their king on g1 and stop their own pawn from promoting and help us get our king closer. What black will do is black is going to try to, let's say, move to e2. And now if we just get, okay, we can't even get our king closer. So we have to just try with a very, this is a very important move to play, attacking the pawn from behind, stopping the pawn from promoting. The only move black has to play is king to f1, and with this next check from f3, we can force the black king to move behind their pawn, because otherwise we will win the black pawn. Once the black king is again behind the black pawn, we can just get our king closer, and so on. We continue doing the same thing. Every time the black king is behind their passed pawn, we make sure to get our king closer. But of course, I should be careful to avoid stalemate. For example, here, I should not play my king to e2. If I play king to e2, that's stalemate. So I just noticed that I should be playing king to e3 and allowing black to play a move. And one more time, we can check, have the black king move behind the passed pawn, and there we are. Here again, and finally we get our king closer to the black's passed pawn, and on the next turn, we will just be able to capture that pawn and win this game. Now going back, let's see, we had to see one more line. So the winning line was to push the c pawn, have the black king capture our pawn, and then instead of just pushing the c pawn, to push the a pawn. And when the black pawn blocks the black king's movement, the f pawn blocks the king's movement, we continue with the c pawn. That was the winning line. Now what if here, instead of capturing our pawn, black just pushed their pawn? Well, what will happen is something similar to what we already saw. So we can just simply capture here. And after the capture, we are again winning because of this pawn that we have that is promoting before black is. So here, let's go, we move forward and move forward, and again we are promoting with a check, and this is going to give us an advantage to win this game because okay, we just promoted first, and usually there is a risk in such positions that the game might end in a stalemate. For example, here, if I check and the king moves to g3, and if I check again, and usually if the king moves to h1, we can't capture this pawn worrying about stalemate. But here there's no stalemate because the black pawn is moving, and here the black king must protect the f pawn, and we don't have any trouble here. We can just do any move. We can try to get our king closer. We can try to push our pawn and promote a second pawn here, and keep on every time that the black king is behind the pass pawn, keep on pushing our pass pawn as well. And if it's a convenient time, we can even sacrifice our queen for the pawn and promote just the a pawn and win this game.